Hi guys, welcome back to my channel Lush Gardener. So in today's video I'm going to be talking about this beautiful aguides. Now I had completely forgotten about this aguides. It was completely ignored. There was no maintenance done. You can see the amount of dry leaves, and plus it was not watered for almost a month and a half because it was right at the back of all the other succulents, and I completely forgot about it. So today I thought I will do a quick inspection if there is anything wrong with the succulent, so that I can go ahead and repair if there is any issues with it. Now also what I wanted to point out, I have already taken out the bloom. There was a bloom stalk and there's another one that's coming up. So I'm very surprised myself that even without watering it for almost a month, how it's doing so well, because I don't see any wrinkles that are present on this succulent. It is doing extremely well. Now the reason behind that, it could be because early morning, as you all know, that there's a lot of fog, and then there is condensation, and that water tends to end up in the soil. So probably the succulent is taking up the water from that condensation, and overall the succulent is doing extremely well. I'm still very surprised that even after not giving that proper care, it's still doing quite well. So you can understand how resilient the succulents are. So what I'm going to be doing in this video is, first of all, I'm going to try and get rid of all the dry leaves. I hope that I don't see any mealybugs or any kind of bugs in this, because the leaves have been on it for a very long time. Now to give you a little bit a backstory of this succulent, probably this succulent was potted probably 2 years back, because when I shifted from the previous house to this new place, it's almost been a year and it has not been repotted. So probably it was repotted 2 years back, probably 2.5 years back. But I'm not going to be repotting it because you can see the soil is very loose. It's very porous, so I don't need to change the soil. That's a good part. Otherwise I had to repot it. So I'm not going to be repotting it, but I'm going to clear off all the dry leaves as much as possible. The soil looks fine, but definitely there is a lot of garden soil in this. So what I'm going to do is I will take out half the garden soil from this and replenish it with the aquarium sand. But before that, I have to just get rid of all of the dry leaves. Overall, the succulent is doing extremely well. The colors are also present. There is no wrinkles on the lower leaves. So after I am cleared with the dry leaves, I'm again going to inspect the stem area, because that's the most important part. A lot of times the mealybugs are going to be clinging to it, if there are any mealybugs, but that's what we'll have to check. So let me quickly clean off all the dry leaves and get back to you. So guys, I have cleared as much as dry leaves. They were not coming out intact because they are dried beyond any point. And here the stem is visible. So thankfully there are no mealybugs, there are no scale insects, there are no bugs whatsoever. Even after the dry leaves being around for a very long time, thankfully there are no bugs. So I'm trying to get a closer view if anything is been hiding, but nothing seems to be there. So everything is very good. And as I said, what I'm going to be doing is I will take out a little bit of the soil. I already have the sand that had filtered long time back. You might have seen in the video. So I'll be using this sand. I will top it up. But before topping up this soil, it's already very loose, but I will just give a filter to it. So I will take out a little bit of soil from the above. I don't want to repot the entire succulent. So if you have an issue like this, wherein your succulent has been in the pot for a very long time and you want to repot it, you can always do the half repotting. So here I have gone ahead and taken out almost 1/4 of the soil from the upper layer, and you can see the lower soil. There's a lot of garden soil which I am going to be filtering, as you can see, because this was a pot. As I said, I have not repotted it for a very long time. So in those days I used to not filter the soil, but any which ways I don't feel like the soil is very compact. You can see even the garden soil is very loose. Probably over the period of time the garden soil has lost all the clay content in it, because I have been watering it earlier. So probably all of the clay content has gone off, but still I'm going to give it a filter. So after filtering it, I'm going to be left with all this gritty material, which I'm going to be mixing again with some sand, and I'm going to top it up for this succulent. The roots are looking very healthy. I don't need to cut anything off. The soil is also very compact, so I do not need to take out any of the soil. I'm going to leave the soil as it is. This will help me not to disturb the succulent. So any which ways, I will go ahead and filter this off, and you can see the amount of fine garden soil that is left behind in the tray below. Now guys, this is something that I do not waste. I tend to use this for making pots, because when I tend to make concrete pots, I use this, and this gives a beautiful brown color to the pot, and it tends to make the pot look like it's made out of clay. So I tend to use this fine dust in making pots. So nevertheless, we are done with filtering. You can see the amount of gritty material. Now this is quite less. So what I'm going to do is I will go ahead and add the river sand that I had recently filtered, and I'm going to give it a good mix and then use this as a top up for my succulent. Any which ways, this succulent was not repotted from a very long time, so it needed a little bit of repotting. So if you have an option like this, you do not need to take out the succulent completely, because I don't think the succulent is root bound yet. So I can still leave the succulent in and just top it up with the new mix that we have just made. Now again guys, I am a person who does not use any fertilizers. There are a lot of people who tend to ask me whether I use any fertilizers in my soil. As you might have seen, most of my soil is like that. I don't tend to use any seaweed solution, or I do not use any vermicompost. So far, I haven't felt the need to use any fertilizers. Probably in future, I'm not very sure. Probably in future, if I would need, or if there is a necessity to add any fertilizers, I might do it. But as of now, I don't see anything, because you might have seen my succulents also tend to bloom without adding any fertilizers. So I don't actually feel the need to add any fertilizer. So I'm just going to leave it as it is. So we are done with the putting in the soil mix. I'm just going to tap to release any air pockets, and I think the succulent looks perfect. I hope it will do quite well now that we have given it a little bit of more fresh soil. I will also dust off by using the succulent blower. This is what I usually tend to do. A lot of times the soil tends to settle down in between the leaves, so it's always better to blow off. Every time it's always better, because these glossy succulents, aguides, do not have any farina, so the leaves are very glossy and they often tend to collect dust. So it's always better to blow it off, because when there is a lot of dust that tends to settle down on the leaves, it becomes a little difficult for the succulent to breathe. So it's always a good idea to blow off the dust from the succulent. So we are all done. It's going to be kept in indirect bright light. I'm not going to be watering it right away, even though we have not taken out the succulent from the soil, but still I will not water it right away. Any which ways, the succulent is very well hydrated. So it's going to be kept in indirect bright light for probably a week or so. So that's all for today. I hope that this video was helpful to you. If it was, please hit the like button. And if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing to it. Until then, take care, stay safe, and keep planting.